Breaking news! Something huge is happening behind closed doors in Baltimore, something that could shake the very foundation of the franchise. Whispers are getting louder, meetings are happening, and one name has just taken a massive leap forward in the Ravens head coaching search. But here's the twist, it's not who most fans expected. This move could bring back the fire, the fight, and the forgotten identity of Ravens football, or it could stir serious controversy in the fan base. But before we dive in, make sure you hit that like button if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you feel like it, comment, "Go Ravens," down below. Your voice matters now more than ever. Anthony Weaver. That's the name echoing throughout the Ravens facility right now, and for good reason. As the first candidate to earn a second interview for the head coaching vacancy, the former Dolphins defensive coordinator and ex-Raven might be on the brink of making a homecoming, this time as the leader of the flock. At 45 years old, Weaver isn't just another option in this crowded coaching carousel. He's a candidate with the kind of fire that's been desperately missing in Baltimore since the departures of Mike Macdonald and, yes, Weaver himself. Let's rewind. When Mike Macdonald left Baltimore to become the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, the Ravens made the surprising internal promotion of Zach Orr as their new DC. But behind the scenes, Anthony Weaver was making his own power moves, taking over as defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. And while his defenses may not have statistically lit up the league, what he brings goes far beyond numbers. He brings culture, he brings toughness, and most importantly, he brings back the identity that many feel this team has lost. Because let's face it, 2025 did not feel like a Ravens year. There was a lack of edge, both literally and figuratively. The aggression, the physicality, the mental toughness, it all seemed to take a back seat, especially in crucial moments. That's exactly what Weaver wants to restore. And if you're still questioning whether he's the right guy, just listen to this quote from one of his pressers. "All of our problems that we need to solve can be solved through violence." Read that again. Let it sink in. That's not just football talk. That's a mindset. That's exactly the kind of language Ravens legends from the past would have thrived on. Weaver preaches a smash-mouth, violent, edge-setting, ball-snatching type of football that perfectly fits what this city craves. The kind of football that defined this team when Ray Lewis roamed the middle and Ed Reed lurked in the backfield. And there's more. Weaver isn't some outsider looking in. He knows Baltimore. He's played here. He's coached here. He's lived the culture. He knows what it feels like to suit up for a franchise built on defense, discipline, and dominance. Few candidates can match that perspective. Being both a player and a coach within the same organization gives him a unique lens into what this job demands and how to lead it forward. Now, from a schematic perspective, Weaver's approach is eerily familiar, in a good way. He runs the same big nickel-style defense that Mike Macdonald implemented so successfully. That continuity would be crucial because so many players on the current roster thrived under that system. You wouldn't need a defensive overhaul, you'd be enhancing what's already in place. But with one big difference, an injection of raw, emotional, and violent leadership. There are also offensive benefits that come with Weaver's recent past. Coaching under Mike McDaniel in Miami connects him with one of the most explosive offensive minds in the game right now. That means Weaver could potentially tap into that coaching tree and bring in sharp, modern offensive minds, something Jesse Minter doesn't have as much access to. While Minter's experience leans heavily into the Harbaugh defensive tree, Weaver's tenure in Miami offers exposure to more dynamic offensive ideologies. And that's critical. Because let's be real, if the Ravens are going to make another deep playoff run, they need an offense that can match the defense in firepower. And speaking of firepower, this is a guy players love to play for. Every single one of them. Former players rave about him. They don't just respect him, they'd run through a wall for him. That's not hyperbole. That's culture. That's what wins championships in this league. And it's something that, frankly, felt missing from the Ravens locker room this past season. Now, to be clear, no one's saying John Harbaugh completely lost the locker room. But it's hard to ignore the sense that the passion was fading. The emotional buy-in, the edge, the spark, it wasn't quite there. Look around the league. Ben Johnson has the Bears players going all in. Dan Campbell transformed the Lions through raw energy and culture. Mike Vrabel with the Titans, DeMeco Ryans with the Texans, these are coaches who have their teams believing, fighting, and playing beyond their talent. That's what the Ravens need. And Anthony Weaver might be the guy to restore that belief. But let's also be fair, there are cons. Weaver's Miami defense has never finished in the top 20 of any major statistical category. That's a red flag. Is it the personnel? Is it the scheme? Is it the learning curve? Many players did mention that his system takes time to digest. That can't be ignored. There are also concerns about whether Weaver is the best X's and O's guy out there. Compared to someone like Robert Saleh or Brian Flores, Weaver might not bring that same tactical advantage. It's a valid debate, especially when it comes to who executes the same scheme better, Jesse Minter or Anthony Weaver. And then there's this, part of the fan base, and maybe even the front office, might want to move away from the Harbaugh-connected coaching tree altogether. Weaver, having coached under both Harbaughs and played in Baltimore, is as close to that tree as it gets. Some believe that if you're going to move on from John Harbaugh after 18 years, maybe it's time for a clean break, a brand new identity, a brand new voice. The path to naming the next Ravens head coach is narrowing, and Anthony Weaver is standing tall among the final contenders. But now comes the deeper question: beyond the passion, beyond the culture fit, does he have the chops to win in today's NFL? This isn't 2000 anymore. You can't just bludgeon teams with defense and expect to hoist Lombardies. You need a complete package, a visionary coaching staff, a dynamic offense, adaptability, and elite situational awareness. That's where the scrutiny turns toward Weaver's ability to build a full staff around him, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. The good news? Weaver has spent the last 2 seasons under the guidance of Mike McDaniel in Miami, arguably one of the most innovative offensive coaches in the game. And McDaniel's staff has been a breeding ground for offensive minds that understand tempo, spacing, and quarterback development. If Weaver taps into that tree, the Ravens could finally unlock the type of offensive creativity that's been missing in Baltimore, especially when it matters most in January. Let's remember, the Ravens don't need a defensive rebuild. They need offensive firepower that can match up with the Bengals, Chiefs, and Bills. They need game-breaking strategy and explosiveness that doesn't go into hibernation once the playoffs start. If Weaver's offensive coordinator hire is someone with deep McDaniel influence, that could be a game-changer. Imagine blending the Ravens' physical identity with Miami-style offensive precision. That's a dangerous mix. But it's not guaranteed. There's still no official word on who Weaver would bring in as his offensive coordinator. And without clarity there, it's impossible to ignore the uncertainty. Would he go for a young, first-time play caller? Would he be tempted to bring back someone with Ravens ties? That's where the front office's influence becomes critical. This hire can't just be about culture or identity. It has to be about results. It has to be about building a complete, balanced team. Let's also talk about something that hasn't been said out loud enough: Weaver's leadership style. He's the ultimate player's coach. And in the modern NFL, that's not a luxury, it's a necessity. Players don't respond to authoritarian, old-school coaches the way they used to. They want authenticity, passion, and a coach who understands how to motivate without alienating. That's what guys like Dan Campbell, Mike McDaniel, and DeMeco Ryans have nailed. Weaver fits that mold. He commands respect without having to demand it. The Ravens have a core group of veterans and ascending stars that would thrive under this kind of leadership. Think about it: Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, Justin Matabike, Patrick Queen. If he's retained, these are players who play with fire. A coach like Weaver could elevate their intensity even further, pulling greatness out of them in a way that's been missing since McDonald walked out the door. But for all his strengths, we can't overlook the challenge ahead. Weaver has never been a head coach. He's never had to manage the game clock, decide when to go for it on 4th down, or take full ownership of a season's success or failure. That learning curve can be steep, especially under the pressure of a franchise that's built to win now. The Ravens don't have time for a rebuild. This team is ready to compete for championships today. And then there's the other candidates. Jesse Minter remains the odds-on favorite according to BetOnline, but his offensive connections remain a concern. Clint Kubiak is another intriguing name, especially for those prioritizing offensive innovation. Robert Saleh brings proven head coaching experience and defensive pedigree. Brian Flores has already shown he can lead a team under duress. When you stack Weaver against those names, you start to see how tight this race really is. So, where does that leave us? Baltimore's front office is facing a defining decision. Anthony Weaver is passionate, experienced, connected, and deeply embedded in the Ravens culture. He's the kind of guy who could walk into that locker room and instantly get buy-in from every single player. He brings familiarity with the scheme, emotional intelligence, and the ability to restore an identity that fans have been begging to see return. But is that enough? Can culture alone bring postseason wins? Can he surround himself with the right minds to bring balance to the offense? Can he handle the pressure of being the guy? These are the questions that define this moment. If the Ravens want to reestablish who they are, Anthony Weaver might just be the answer. But it's going to take more than nostalgia and emotion. It's going to take